Soft, melancholic piano music begins, reminiscent of a faded photograph. A young woman's voice, tinged with world weariness, begins. "Oh, darling, you wouldn't believe. You simply wouldn't." It began, as these tragedies often do, with a promise. A shimmering mirage of turquoise waters and five-star luxury. The Hotel Riu Palace Santa Maria, Sal, sounds divine, doesn't it? Like sponge sugar and sun-drenched afternoons. I had such expectations. Honestly, growing up in Well, a place where even clean water felt like a privilege, this was supposed to be a rebirth, an indulgence. A little slice of heaven earned through years of, shall we say, strategic networking on my mother's part. It wasn't about the money, you understand. It was about the principle of it. A celebration of arrival. Can you even comprehend? But the universe, it seems, has a rather cruel sense of humor. And heaven, my dear, it appears, is frequently under renovation. It started subtly, like a discordant note in a perfectly pleasant melody. The sheer lack of aesthetic refinement. Don't misunderstand, the structure was adequate. Imposing even, but a true palace breathes, it sings. This place, it just existed. Like a hastily assembled stage set for a play that never quite begins. And the staff. Oh, the staff. A polite, vacant sort of deference, kind you receive from someone obligated, to whom you ray merely a source of potential grievance. There was never a spontaneous smile, never a genuine query if I was enjoying myself. Which, spoiler alert, I wasn't the food, though. The food. That's where the true unraveling began. Listen, I've witnessed my grandmother transform a single cabbage into a culinary masterpiece. My childhood was filled with the fragrant, comforting alchemy of home cooking. But this was an offense. It wasn't merely not good. It was a fundamental betrayal of the human palate. Everything tasted vaguely of regret. Bland, lukewarm, and possessing a disconcerting uniformity. It was like eating sadness disguised as sustenance. Imagine, if you will, a breakfast buffet. A breakfast buffet, darling, should be a vibrant explosion of opportunity. But it was a tired recycling of the previous night's leftovers, masquerading as a fresh start. The fruit, looking both overripe and suspiciously underripe, glistening with an unnerving sheen. The pastries, stale and offering the texture of cardboard. The eggs, a pallid, rubbery testament to the horrors of industrial cooking. And the flies. A buzzing, iridescent swarm perpetually hovering over every dish, conducting a grim ballet of contamination. It wasn't a minor inconvenience. It was a direct assault on the senses. Think about it, the physics of it. Tiny wings carrying countless microscopic organisms. The sheer lack of care required to allow such a spectacle to exist where one is expected to ingest nourishment. Each bite felt like a gamble. Would it be bland? Would it be mealy? Or would it be accompanied by a complementary dose of airborne pathogens? Honestly, it felt less like 5 stars and more like a charming little 3-star establishment, if those establishments were populated entirely by apathy and bad bacteria. Then came the cocktails. Oh, the cocktails. I had envisioned myself lounging by the pool, a delicate stemware glass in hand, sipping a perfectly crafted Bellini. Instead, I was offered pre-mixed concoctions, violently blended with ice until they resembled sugary slush. An aesthetic disaster, an affront to mixology. No Prosecco, no delicate spritzers, just beer and wine that tasted suspiciously like vinegar. The audacity. I am a woman of refined tastes, you understand. If I am to consume alcohol, it must be curated. A carefully selected vintage. A cocktail worthy of its name. The fact that one was relegated to a separate bar, deprived of these liquid joys during meals, felt like a deliberate act of psychological torment. A sigh heavy with disappointment. But the food.
The food was merely the opening act. The true horror lay in the hygiene. I witnessed, you see, things that haunt my dreams. A staff member casually dropping a utensil onto the floor, then, without a moment's hesitation, picking it up and resuming its duties. A casual disregard for sanitation that sent shivers down my spine. The tablecloths, perpetually stained and sticky. The faces of my fellow diners etched with a growing sense of dread. And then, on day 2, the landscape surrounding the Hotel Riu Palace Santa Maria Sol, it's a complicated one. A place where the vibrant postcard image clashes with a rather disheartening reality. It's not a place brimming with delightful surprises. Instead, businesses in this area seem to operate under a shadow, a pervasive sense of, let's call it, optimization at the expense of genuine hospitality. It feels like a constant negotiation, a low hum of potential disappointment. It's unsettling, like discovering a chipped tile in a pristine mosaic. Let's begin with the restaurants. They present themselves as havens of culinary escape, but the overwhelming impression, and this is across nearly every review I've examined, is one of profound inconsistency and, frankly, a disregard for basic food safety. It isn't merely a case of dishes being slightly off, it's reports of outright food poisoning, leaving diners incapacitated and their vacations ruined. It leaves a pit in my stomach, the thought of someone's precious holiday being hijacked by a carelessly prepared meal. Take Barracuda, for example. It appears to be a particularly problematic establishment. A common thread emerges, a feeling of being actively deceived. The descriptions are harrowing: tuna tartar causing all-night sickness, chicken legs described as old birds inducing illness, seafood contaminated with wheat for those with allergies. The feeling it gives me is they don't care. They'll serve you anything they can get away with. It's not just bad luck, it's a pattern. One review specifically mentions a blatant attempt to blame the customer for the poisoning, accusing them of drunkenness, a deeply insulting response to a legitimate complaint. This isn't an isolated incident. Several reviews highlight inconsistent food quality and a dismissive attitude towards customer concerns. It suggests a corner-cutting mentality, a prioritization of profit over well-being. It feels like a betrayal of trust, a deliberate disregard for the health and happiness of their patrons. And it's not just the quality of the food, it's the basic competency of the service. Apparently, the staff seem unable to explain ingredients or accommodate dietary requirements. The manager at Barracuda, according to one account, actually argued with a customer with celiac disease, suggesting they would struggle to find gluten-free food anywhere in Cabo Verde. It's almost comical in its absurdity and infuriating in its arrogance. The idea that anyone would deliberately mislead a customer with a medical condition, it feels like a deep violation. Then we have Ocean Cafe. They seem to specialize in disappointment, delivering food that is demonstrably not as described. The ocean fish platter sounds like a cruel joke, fish apparently refried from the day before, with only the calamari exhibiting any sign of freshness. Burgers arriving raw, pizzas arriving hard and disgusting, and even the simple act of ordering seems fraught with difficulty. It feels like a slap in the face to anyone hoping for a decent meal. There's a general theme of things simply not working. Orders are wrong, requests are ignored, and service is agonizingly slow. One review mentions waiting 2.5 hours for pizza and pasta. 2.5 hours. That's an eternity on vacation. It feels like the kitchen has lost control, or perhaps simply doesn't care. The Buddy Bar paints an even darker picture. This isn't just a matter of subpar service, it's a place that apparently attracts a predatory element. The reports are disturbing: prostitutes harassing customers, aggressive beggars, pickpockets, and a general sense of unease. It feels like stepping into a different world, a place where vulnerability is exploited. The bar is also accused of deceptive billing practices, adding hidden charges to credit card transactions and deliberately trying to shortchange customers. To add insult to injury, there's a surcharge for paying by card, a practice that feels particularly insidious. It's a blatant disregard for fair business practices, a cynical attempt to profit from unsuspecting tourists. It makes my blood run cold, the thought of someone deliberately taking advantage of visitors. The Bounty Beach restaurant attempts a veneer of idyllic beachside dining, but beneath the surface lurks a similar pattern of disappointment. Overpriced and under-delivering, with small portions and questionable drink prices. A gin and tonic costing €19 is frankly outrageous. And it isn't just the cost, it's the inconsistency. Orders are forgotten, plates are not cleared, and drink service is haphazard. They'll even close the kitchen mid-meal. It feels like a complete lack of respect for the customer's time and money. There are also reports of dress code issues, with staff aggressively enforcing arbitrary rules while turning a blind eye to others. It's a baffling display of arbitrary power, a clear indication of a deeply flawed system.
Script content, I was looking into scams near Hotel Riu Palace Santa Maria. Sal, because tourists should know, right? And it's sad, but some businesses here they act nice, but then, boom, scam. So souvenir shops near Hotel Riu Palace Santa Maria, Sal. Some of them, they tell you a price, but when you pay, suddenly it's more. They say, oh, that was without tax, or you misunderstood. And you're standing there confused because they said 10 euros, but now it's 15. And what can you do? Argue in a foreign place. Probably just pay and walk away, feeling stupid. The shopkeeper. They do it again tomorrow. Then there's restaurants, not all, but some near Hotel Riu Palace Santa Maria, Sal. You order fish, they bring it, you eat. Bill comes and there's extra drinks you drink.